Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the New York mandate will be lifted on Thursday. Kyrie Irving will now be able to play in home games as of that day, and it changes a lot of things in the Eastern Conference to say the least. But it still doesn't get the Nets completely out of the woods because they need to figure out what's going on with their defensive anchor, Ben Simmons, who hasn't played a single game for them just yet. I don't believe they can get through the East without a healthy Ben Simmons locking up the best player on the other team each and every night. Um, Now, we can surely see them getting through the play-in tournament without Ben if they were to fall that far. I don't know where they are right now, but last I checked, they were there. They'll definitely get out of that. And depending on the matchup they get, I don't think they're going to have too many problems in the first round. But if Ben isn't completely himself and fully acclimated into what it is that they do by the second round, they'll lose in that round, in my opinion. They'll be gone then, and that's assuming they don't run into a bad matchup in that first round. So this is a situation where you're extremely happy about the Nets getting Kyrie Irving back for home games. I know Barclays Center is going to be buzzing strong for him and for his performances once again. KD, I'm sure, is fired up. This is amazing. Congratulations to Kyrie for standing on what you believed in. Um, you know, I was hopeful and prayerful that this would have some solution before the playoffs, not only for Kyrie and for Brooklyn, and for everybody who enjoys him, but for KD, man, for KD, um, because looking at KD from the outside looking in this situation, I think he's played it about as well as you would want your teammate to. If I'm Kyrie Irving, I think KD has handled this exemplary, if that's a word, if that's the right way to put it. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better way for him to handle it. Of course, he's frustrated. Of course, he wants Kyrie to play, but he also understands that as long as this is settled before playoffs, they're intact as far as he's concerned. Because all he needs is Kyrie in his mind, and he can win the championship. Um, I I really believe this helps a great deal for their chemistry in terms of KD don't have to continue to be exemplary no more. There's no reason to be frustrated. They can get back to business and focus on what it is that they need to do. Um, and it doesn't put a strain on that friendship. It doesn't put a strain. You know what I mean? When you do your part as KD, and you're willing to see it through as KD because that's your brother, but at the same time, it's like the narrative out there is that Kyrie ain't doing it for you. Blah blah blah. Well, what we understand is that the mandate was garbage to begin with, so there was no reason to even take the vaccine if that mandate was just going to stay as it was. It didn't make any sense. The guys could come into that arena, play as opponents, but not as home players, and having him be able to come in and buy a ticket and sit in the arena, but not be able to play in the home game. It's just, come on, man. It was ridiculous. We all knew it was ridiculous. It was politically driven, and that was something I think KD and Kyrie and everybody in the Brooklyn organization understood, and that was the focus instead of forcing Kyrie to do something that he refused to do in taking the vaccine. So I think that helped with the entire situation as well. But ultimately, you just wanted to see Kyrie get back out there for KD, so KD don't have to keep, you know, going along with this process. He's given as much to this as he should have to. And then you think about James Harden, who wasn't willing. He wasn't willing to see this moment through, and I don't know if it'll hurt him or pay off. I think he's in a good situation right now in Philadelphia, but I think that was a better situation in Brooklyn. And I think that trade made Brooklyn better if they can get Ben Simmons back out there. But at the end of the day, Kyrie, he's back. Uh, One would say James Harden gave up on them, and KD didn't. That's one way you can look at it. And here we are with them having an opportunity to go after it, fully healthy, assuming Ben Simmons will be back, which I actually think he will be if the back isn't crazy horrible. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think they should take their time with Ben Simmons. I don't think they should play around with him as it pertains to trying to rush him back because the role that he's going to have to play is physical. Simple as that. It's a physical role. So that it's super imperative that his back is straight and that his conditioning is straight and that he's strong as he's ever been. So if he can't give them that, um, sitting him out there is setting him up for failure. Simple as that. So that's something that I think the Brooklyn Nets will be cautious about. Uh, in the meantime, look forward to seeing Kyrie back on the home floor. Obviously, as a Laker fan, it doesn't move the needle for myself like that. But at the same time, I'm a fan of Kyrie Irving's work, and it's gonna be nice to see him doing what he does, more so. And it's especially great for my fantasy team because he was only scheduled to play 3 more games. Now it gives him an opportunity to play all of them. So hopefully that works out. Now here's another thing we can say about Kyrie Irving, um, and this is just the truth. He has had some injury issues in the past, and I think having him playing only road games may have been by default something that kept him healthy. Because anytime he plays too much basketball, unfortunately in the NBA, it always leads to him ending up getting injured. So I'm not wishing that. Obviously, I don't want to, manifest anything negative. But what I'm saying is, it is something to be said for now. He's going to be back having to play every game. He's going to be banging up against people. He's going to be double teamed and things like that. His health is something to pay attention to because he was kept fresh. At the end of the day, he only had to play like once every 8 days or something like that. Anytime they were on the road, it kept him fresh. Now he's going to be back. What does this do for the role players on this team and some of the guys who've come along and have really flourished at home while he's been away? What does that do for Brett Brown? Um, what does that do for some of the other guys? My mind is going blank, but Thomas. What does that do for Cam Thomas? These are the things that you wonder about. They have to make certain adjustments. How does that shuffle the lineup? So, it's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of shuffling of rosters heading into the playoffs. A lot of these teams that are going in, some of their starters are players that they just now starting to, right now. They're just getting these guys in their starting lineup in the late March. And I just think that could play a part in what happens in these playoffs. Some of the teams that have been more stable, that have had players that have carried over from previous seasons and things like that, role players who've been on the team for 7-8 years, those are the teams I think that are probably going to have the advantage in these playoffs because I just look at what we're seeing out there and I'm just seeing a lot of change. Whole lot of shuffling, whole lot of guys coming back at last minute, whole lot of guys trying to work their way into new teams in the second half of the season. It's a lot of that. And then you look at Boston, a lot of steadiness with a lot of their players, either players that they've had for a couple years, guys that are returning, or guys that never left and have always been there. You got that same dynamic with certain teams like I think about Memphis, who's had a stable lineup for the most part all year, with the exception of Brooks being out. They haven't had a whole lot of shuffling with their roster for 3 years, 2 years. These guys have been together. They work in their favor. Those are the type of things I'm looking at. Phoenix, obviously, having been to the finals last year with pretty much the same roster, bringing Craig back and things like that. So, it's just going to be interesting, man. The Nets going to have a hard road ahead, whether they have everybody healthy or not, because the East is ridiculously deep. So, I think they're definitely going to be much better now. They got Kyrie back, and now they got to work on getting Ben back. So, that's what I got, man. BDF 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.